Sorry for the delay. Now inviting Prime Minister. Here.
Am I audible and visible again?
Yes, you are audible and visible.
All right, thank you. Good afternoon to all the judges, timekeepers, and the opposition team. It is an honor to be with all of you here today. I am the Prime Minister and the first speaker of the government team, Crystal, and I will be defining the topic as well as present the first point. Our second speaker, Tanya, will present 2 points and give the reply speech later on. And our third speaker, David, will summarize the case and will be providing rebuttals against the opposition team's points. If needed, he will also be clearing any POIs or rebuttals that have been going back and forth. Now, let me start by defining the topic. This House supports the inclusion of feminist narratives in advertisement of fashion and beauty products. Feminist means having or based on the belief that women should have the same rights and opportunity as men. Feminist narratives refers to one that pays attention to gendered meta-narratives and specifically analyzes the social constructions and interpersonal co-constructions of meaning engaged by women as marginalized persons. Advertisements refers to a notice, picture, or film telling people about a product, job, or service. And an additional definition or information that I will be providing is that feminism value includes cooperation, respect, caring, interconnection, justice, equity, honesty, sensitivity, perceptiveness, intuition, fairness, morality, and commitment. All definition above were from taylorsandfrancis.com and Oxford Dictionary. In the fashion and cosmetic industry, there has been a rising trend towards inclusiveness and diversity in recent years. More feminist storylines in commercial for fashion and beauty items have been requested as a result of this trend. Fashion and beauty commercials have historically promoted unrealistic standards of beauty, objectifying women, and promoting negative gender stereotypes. Due to a lack of representation for people with different body shapes, skin tones, and identities, this has contributed to difficulties with body image. There has been an increasing need for commercials that break from these damaging standards. Nevertheless, as society attitudes change, customers are looking for companies that prioritize diversity, honesty, and empowerment while upholding feminist ideals. In order to challenge stereotypical ideas of femininity and to highlight a wider diversity of beauty, feminist narratives are increasingly being used in fashion and beauty commercials. They place a strong emphasis on individuality, self-expression, and confidence, in enticing individuals to embrace their distinctive personalities rather than giving in to pressure from society. Now, let me proceed to our first point. This House supports the inclusion of feminist narrative in advertisement of fashion and beauty products because it is a representation for women. Advertising representation includes both self-expression and physical attractiveness. Women are encouraged by feminist narratives to express themselves honestly in spite of social norms and to have faith in their identities. Advertisements often depict women in objectifying and sexualized ways, reducing them to mere objects of desire. Raising awareness about the impact of such portrayals can encourage more respectful and empowering representation of women. Feminist narratives highlights the need for more diverse and accurate portrayals of women in the media. It calls for better representation of women in various roles, breaking stereotypes and avoiding objectification. This narrative also challenges unrealistic beauty standards and promotes self-acceptance and body positivity for women of all shapes, sizes, and appearances. Feminist narratives inclusion encourages body acceptance by portraying a range of body forms, skin tones, and physical Cosmetics. It conveys the strong message that all women should feel attractive and confident regardless of their size and body type. A brand named Dove has created a campaign called Dove's Real Beauty Campaign, launched in the early 2000s, have been celebrated for challenging traditional beauty standards and promoting body positivity. The campaign features diverse representation of women and aims to boost women's self-esteem by encouraging them to embrace their natural beauty. These feminist narratives on advertisement are proof that they acknowledge their successes, setbacks, and victories, and help women feel acknowledged, appreciated, and recognized in the media. The direction of more diverse and empowered media environment, the representation of women through feminist narratives in fashion and beauty commercials is an important and revolutionary step. These stories are essential in help to create a more positive and fair environment for everyone by exposing myths about beauty, empowering women, and appreciating their variety of experiences. Let's work together to build a society where every woman is cherished, respected, and empowered by promoting messages that inspire and raise women. With all that being said, this House supports the inclusion of feminist narratives in advertisement of beauty and fashion products because it is a representation for women. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Prime Minister, for that fine speech. Do be reminded that you're encouraged to accept and take to your eyes. That being said, inviting Leader of Opposition, here.
Okay, just before I start, I would like to check if I'm visible and audible.
Yes, you are visible and audible.
All right, thank you very much. Give me a few seconds to pull the timeout and I'll start. Okay, I'll be starting my speech in 3, 2, 1. Women should not be loved just because of their beauty, just because of their looks. This is something that is just unjustified. Instead, just the fact that you are a human already gives you the right to be loved and cared about. Your looks do not justify your value, and it should stay like that. So in today's debate, as side opposition, there are a few things that I'll be bringing to the table. First, I'll be giving some information on what is this debate about today. And after that, I'll be listing a few things that side government has to prove in order to take today's debate. Next, I'll be listing out the main stakeholders, some context and characterization of today's motion. And lastly, I'll be bringing, as side opposition, we'll be bringing 3 arguments to the table today. Namely, number 1, women's empowerment shouldn't hinge on beauty. Number 2, this inclusion will harm the feminist movement. And lastly, number 3, why is it better in our side that the feminism narrative is not included? So let's get started. So first, what is this debate about? So I believe it's quite clear that this debate is about women's rights and capitalism. So what is the most compelling dispute of today's debate? And it's quite obvious. It's which side empowers women more, right? And in order for side government to take to this debate, they have to prove a few things. Number 1, they have to prove that beauty sectors have to include women of all types in their world. Number 2, they will also have to prove that the beauty sector helps to empower women. So moving on to our main stakeholders of today's debate. So our main stakeholders, we have women of all types, and we have women rights, we have feminism movements. Okay, that's our stakeholders for today. And moving on to status quo and characterization. So there's a few layers to this. So love your curves and all body types are beautiful are slogans often seen in the beauty sector to seemingly empower women. But that's incredibly contradictory in their part, as this is how beauty sectors advertise their products. And they use billboards, social media ads, and models to help commercialize their products. Take note, panel, that the models hired and portrayed are often the ones who are light-skinned, slim, and have conventional attractive facial features, etc. And take note that this is very dismissive on other groups of women that deserve representation as well, such as disabled women, women with facial distortions, and women who are dark-skinned and muscular women, and other groups of women who do not fit in with the standards of beauty. So these slogans also do not help combat mental health problems and body dysmorphia. If anything, simply shoving fat women and telling them to love their body can cause them anxiety, because if they don't do them, they are not valuing themselves when the social standards are already very much against them. And also take note that in the present, there are already backlashes towards the advertisements and how they choose who can be the model. But take note that the backlash is ultimately not effective because corporations are still profiting from beautiful women and women who are insecure but want to make them as beautiful as possible. And these beautiful sectors rely on insecurities and lowering the self-esteem of the main group targeted, which is women. Let's define the modern landscape on a woman's value and self-worth in today's society. So there's two layers to this. Number one, the modern feminist notion is that a woman's look is not supposed to be her sole value. And number two, that is what modern feminism wants, to include all women of all types. And why do women want to fit in the beautiful standards? So take note that the patriarchy ingrained in society holds an impact on a woman's life. And this would mean that unconventionally, attractive women would have a lesser chance to be hired, lesser chance to find a partner, have a thinner social circle, which would also lead to them having mental health issues. Therefore, women would want to become beautiful in order to gain validation in their life. This sort of beauty standard is the one that is controlled by beauty sectors. So we should all take in mind that today's society is still very much patriarchal and capitalist. So this would mean the corporations has an incentive to gain as much profit as possible. This would mean that the corporations would be exploiting the feminist movement as a performative activism to seemingly attract more customers, but ultimately entrusting a movement whose sole purpose is to fight back against her higher-ups, which in this case are men who are more likely to have traditional values and men who are indifferent to the struggles women face. The corporations can cause the whole movement to collapse and make the efforts of the feminists in the past fail. So what do feminists do besides empowering women in the beauty sectors? So many feminists, they believe that beautiness is not a person's value. So compared to men, fashion and beauty is not as valued in them. Therefore, the causes inequality and gives male higher-ups more leverage to control them. And therefore, feminists want to incite value in other sectors, which is that looks are not the most important thing in a woman's value. So that's the end of my context and characterization, which leads me to my first argument. Namely, women's empowerment shouldn't hinge on beauty. So the fight of feminism is for women's empowerment and rights, and that's kind of obvious because we are trying to fight for women to have the right to exist equally because women exist and therefore deserve that right, not because women can be beautiful. And true empowerment is about recognizing and promoting the inherent value and worth of women beyond their physical appearance. Reducing women's empowerment to beauty perpetuates harmful stereotypes and reinforces the idea that a woman's worth is primarily determined by her looks, which is both limiting and objectifying. So imagine this. I'm Worth It by L'Oreal. Implies that women are worth being beautiful, as if they are worth it, they aren't beautiful. They aren't worth it, they can't buy L'Oreal's hair products. If a woman doesn't care enough about spending tons of money on beauty products, then that implies she doesn't think she's worth it. So what have I brought to you today? So first, I gave you context on the motion, namely some characterization and some looks of the status quo. And then I listed two things that side government has to prove in order to take today's debate. Namely, number one, they have to prove that beauty sectors have to include women of all types in their world. Number two, they will also have to prove that the beauty sectors help to empower women. And after that, I've also give you some elaboration on our first argument, where women's empowerment shouldn't hinge on beauty, which will be further elaborated by my second speaker. With that, I'm proud to propose. Thank you.
Thank you, Leader of Opposition, for that fine speech. Now inviting BPM to further government's case. Here.
Am I audible and visible?
Can you say that again?
Am I audible and visible?
All right, crystal clear.
Okay, thank you. I'll start my speech now. Good afternoon to the honorable adjudicator, my worthy opponents, and members of the floor. Before I come to my own arguments, I'll first have a look at what the first speaker of the opposition team has said. The first speaker of the opposition had told us that we should prove how the beauty sector have to include all types of women in the advertisement and how they helps empower women. I will further explain that in my own speech. Now, the other question that you have stated will be replied by our third speaker of our team. Let us come to the second argument of my house. This house supports the inclusion of feminist narratives in advertisement of fashion and beauty products because it raised awareness about feminist issues related to the fashion and beauty industry. Take Fenty Beauty, for example. Rihanna's cosmetic brand, Fenty Beauty, was widely praised for its extensive shade range that caters to diverse skin tones. By offering makeup products that work for a wide array of people, the brand challenged the beauty industry's historical lack of inclusivity, answering what the opposition team has asked for. Supporting feminine causes is vital for all these brands because brands that embrace feminist narratives in their advertisement can use their platform to support these causes and initiatives such as funding women's empowerment programs, promoting gender diversity in leadership positions, or advocating for policy changes that benefit women and marginalized genders. By including feminist narratives, these ads can empower individuals to feel confident and embrace their unique identities rather than perpetuating unrealistic beauty standards or objectifying individuals. For example, MAC or Fenty Beauty. These industries also promote inclusive shade range that cater to diverse skin tones and reflect the feminist principles of celebrating and embracing the beauty of all individuals regardless of their skin color. Stereotype, a set of concepts associated to a social group that help people understand the world, have had major implications on the advertising industry. Stereotypes, especially those pertaining to gender, are consistently seen in ad campaigns and have been since the 1950s. In the late 19th century and early 20th century, blue was associated with femininity and pink and was associated with masculinity. Surprising, right? Blue represented the supposed color of the Virgin Mary's outfit, indicating the relationship of femininity. However, pink was seen as the boyish color of red. But this gradually changed when advertisers in the 1950s began publishing campaigns and pushing for the contrary. This shows how the media can impact the consumers and society's view on genders and femininity. And we should use this advertisement to promote wisely in order to make a better change in society. In 2016, H&M created a splash on social media with its stereotype smashing campaign, She's a Lady, encouraging women to be fierce and fearless with their fashion choices rather than typically ladylike. The campaign was designed to break down gender norms and encourage self-expression. The ad was particularly applauded for speaking about fashion in this context instead of the standard focus on consumerism. And that is how ads can empower and bring out the confidence in women. Why else do you think that women are more confident of their body and appearance nowadays? Secondly, this house supports the inclusion of feminist narratives in advertisement of fashion and beauty products because it helps promote sustainability and ethical beauty of beauty product. A feminist narrative ad of beauty products can also involve promoting sustainability, ethical sourcing, and fair labor practices, emphasizing the importance of supporting products that align with feminist value of social and environmental responsibility can encourage conscious consumer choices. Besides, brands can opt for sustainable packing materials like recycled materials, biodegradable containers, or packaging with reduced plastic contact. Feminist values for caring for the environment and the well-being of future generations, like what my speaker has said, can be reinforced through such choices. For example, Glossier is a beauty brand that has been praised for its inclusive marketing campaigns and dedication to empowering women. They focus on creating simple, effective products with clean ingredients. You are accepted?
Okay, we already characterized to you that corporations rely on taking away land from other people and also insecurity to make their brand more attractive towards other insecure consumers. I don't see how you can justify feminists in being in the beauty sectors can help improve environments. Please elaborate on that characterization.
I'll pass that to the third speaker to answer your POI. Continuing to my speech. They focus on creating simple, effective products with clean ingredients, have been mindful for sustainability in their packaging choices. And The Body Shop, a well-known product, a well-known brand, is a beauty brand that has long been associated with ethical practices. They are committed to cruelty-free beauty and promoting fair trade with a focus on empowering women in developing countries. The brand sources natural ingredients, sustainability, and supports various social and environment causes through their community fair trade program. Feminism not only supports women's rights and empower women, they also advocate for sustainable and equitable practices that promote the well-being of current and future generations. Similarly, environmentalism is rooted in the concept of sustainability, seeking to protect natural resources and ecosystems to ensure a thriving planet for generations to come. So, ladies and gentlemen, what I've told you today is that this house supports the inclusion of feminist narratives in advertisement of fashion and beauty products because it raises awareness about feminist issues related to the fashion and beauty industry, and it helps promote sustainability and ethical beauty. I now rest my case. Thank you.
Thank you, DPM, for that fine speech. Now inviting Deputy Leader of Opposition, here.
Hello, may I ask if I am audible and visible?
Yes, you are visible and audible.
Okay, thank you. Please give me 10 seconds. Hey, hello, I'm second speaker of opposition side. I will be taking verbal POI, so please verbally interrupt me. And I will start my speech in 3, 2, 1. So, a woman's beauty is a valuable thing, of course, but to hold it as the only valuable notion of a woman overshadows the other beauties a woman may have, like her intelligence and her strength. Why do we say that it's important? We say that it's important because later on we will characterize to you why this will hurt the feminism movement and actually make it harm all women of all types in the world. Now, before I move on to my arguments, I would like to give a few responses to what the second speaker of government has said. They have listed out facts that I believe they got from their own memory, that all these facts are incredibly short-lived. First of all, the color blue being associated with femininity, I do not see how that point can still stand, and how having a wide, diverse skin tones, yes, that is a thing that the beauty sectors can achieve, but I fail to see how it can benefit women of other types, such as disabled women, fat women, women with facial distortions. These types are also women who are having unique body types, but I don't see how they can justify, even if it's just in the bare minimum of benefiting colored people as well. We will prove to you why today that having corporations include feminism in these beauty sectors will ultimately backtrack the whole feminism movement, and that they women of all types, even if it's just a small benefit, these benefits will be comparable to the harm that government may pose. They also listed a bunch of results that includes breaking out gender norms, because some celebrity said that this will break out gender norms. Let me tell you something. These are very short-lived results that people will often forget, because I believe that even government side can only list up a few facts. But if you can see in the general landscape, not a lot of people feel confident with themselves. A lot of people have body dysmorphia. A lot of people feel uncomfortable with their face and their bodies because the beauty sectors tell them to be insecure, because they rely on that. That's the root cause of corporations. And I do not see that being justified and battled in government side. And also, they have to prove the practicality of corporations being able to care about unique body types and environmental sustainability that government has really pushed is a big burden for them to take, by the way, because they lack characterization, they lack a model and mechanism in their side as to why feminism movements can help corporations want to care about these type of stuff. I do not see that happening in their side. That is a very logical jump for them to make. Now, moving on to my arguments. Now, to elaborate on the first argument about how women's empowerment shouldn't hinge on a woman's beauty, the impact it holds is that when including feminist narratives in advertisements of beauty products, it reinforces the idea that the main purpose of a woman existing is to be beautiful, which is what the feminism movement wants to break. That the peak of women's existence is to be pretty. This reinforces the misogynistic idea that has seeped into society that says that women only exist to be pretty. It only is even more sinister because now it tries to say that women have to be pretty to empower themselves. This affects women who aren't conventionally attractive, women who choose not to participate in the beauty standards of society, who end up being shunned by society themselves. So the impact that although, yes, there are wider variations of skin tones in government side, but we tell you that in the fashion sector, they would not want to choose to think about women who have different disabilities. They do not choose to empower them, do not choose to represent them in pictures and in commercials, because when you do that, there will be backlashes from people saying, I don't want this is ugly, I don't like seeing this. And this may empower them, but the backlashes will be coming from a far more major audience, which are the male audience and the male higher-ups who feel disturbed seeing these unconventionally attractive women. Comparative. In God's world, fashion and beauty products are associated with feminism movements, making women feel as if they need fashion and beauty products to be feminist and empowering. But in our world, we advocate for women to be feminist and empowered just by the virtue of existing, meaning all women deserve rights, not just when they're deemed as pretty by society. And I will be moving on to my second argument, which is this inclusion will harm the feminist movement. When the feminist movement becomes heavily associated with fashion and beauty, which it will, by the way, because the beauty and fashion sectors are often the most talked about topic in social media, in advertisements, when people casually talk with each other, etc. Therefore, if we associate the feminist movement into these type of sectors, it will become the only thing that it will become the main focus of the feminist movement. Because beauty sectors are also the most commercialized in society. This will mean when feminism gets talked about, the beauty sectors will also be talked about as well. And we take note that we already characterized to you that it's unlikely for these sectors to want to cater to us, but also that they take up too much attention from feminism, from other types of feminism. When we talk to you about not taking feminism seriously, this would mean supporters to be mad because feminism is steered in the direction where beauty is the main value a woman holds. This will make it so that other sectors where women's value should hold, such as being a strong woman, being a muscular woman, are often dismissed. Because when conventional attractiveness comes into play, they would not be taken as seriously. So what impact does this hold? Making a logical jump between the slogan's impact, which is telling fat women to be confident and not having any empathy and understanding towards the struggles fat women face can cause more harm than good. Panel take note that fat women face discrimination in the healthcare sector, such as having all their problems be related to just the fact that they are fat. It takes a lot of nuance away, and it doesn't help fat women being able to treat themselves. Why is this important? It's important because inclusion from the beauty sector often encourages fat women to forcefully make themselves confident and apathy, and it also increases apathy because it does not help address the systematic discrimination and oppression from how people mistreat fat women. Our world might not include fat women in picture when we're talking about beauty sectors, but feminists are much more likely to have more attention directed to them in comparison. And towards my last argument, which is why is it better in our side that the feminism narrative is not included? It gives women more talking ground, because what will it look like if this policy is implemented? They will have corporations being the ones to take the wheel on how feminism can go in the future. They will be thinning out the resources feminism originally has because their incentive is to break in more profit. Take note that panel, please take note that it's not only the more progressive societies like America being put in the picture in today's debate. There will also be other countries such as India and Southeast Asia having beauty sectors in their area. This puts puts a feminist notion that can harm vulnerable women who are uneducated and little girls, that this is the only way for them to have value. So what have we told you today? We told you that not only feminism won't be as effective in government's house, but even though we won't be as diverse in beauty sectors, our house can still not have as much more harm as it poses in government side. Please side with side opposition. Thank you.
Thank you, DLO, for that fine speech. Now inviting GovWeb to sum up their case. Here.
Hi, am I audible and visible?
Yes, you are visible and audible.
Thank you. I will begin my speech in one. Sorry. I will time my own duration, 7 minutes. So I'll start my speech in 1, 2, 3. Good afternoon to the judges, timekeepers, and the opposition team. I am David, and I'm the third speaker of the government team. I'll be summarizing my team's arguments, but before I come to that, let me provide some rebuttals to the opposition team's points, as well as clearing up any POIs or rebuttals that have been given by the opposition team. The opposition team have argued against our first point, saying that women shouldn't be loved just because of their looks, saying that women should be appreciated by default, that the models hired for advertisements are typically good-looking, light-skinned, perfect women. But from the background given by Help Debate, which is that Zara Fashion has a love your curves feminist narrative, the company used hired models of various body types, skin colors, to ensure consumers that it is actually inclusive and diverse, and saying that telling fat women to love their body gives them anxiety. No, it does not. Furthermore, they say that these advertisements still promote women to look beautiful. No, it does not. It promotes realistic beauty and sends a message to all women that they do not have to go through extensive process to beautify themselves, as they are already beautiful. People who agree with the opposition team's argument will typically have the idea that women no longer face oppression. While significant progress have been made in advancing women's rights and gender equality, women in current society continue to face various forms POI rejected of oppression, contrary to the common belief that gender equality has been fully achieved. Now, the opposition team have POI'd us, asking the relevance of feminism and environmental sustainability, asking, how can we say that this is happening? They gave examples such as these companies take up land for their factories, but that can be dismissed because all factories, regardless if they're advocating for feminism, do take up land. And we cannot blame beauty and fashion companies that have feminism values, only them have this effect on the environment. Feminism advocates for sustainable and equitable practices that promote the well-being of current and future generations. Similarly, environmentalism is rooted in the concept of sustainability, seeking to protect natural resource and ecosystems to ensure a thriving planet for generations to come. The opposition team have asked us, how can we justify that corporations support body type when they don't show any inclusivity for them? The example she asked was that corporations do not show diverse body types or disabled women. But like I said just now at the beginning, from the notion provided by Help Debate, it already gave an example that beauty fashion corporations do show diverse body types. How can they say that there is no representation for that when the notion itself already contains one? As for disabled women representation, Kim Kardashian's underwear and shapewear brand, Skims, reinvented their Fit Everybody underwear line. The collection has 4 styles, 4 colors, and size ranging from XXS to 4X. Each piece in the adaptive collection features to hook and eye closure that are discreet, sleek, and help people with accessibility while dressing. Skims worked alongside numerous individuals from the disability community to help create this collection, including USA Paralympian Scout Bassett. So with this example alone, it shows that these companies that advocate for feminism and use feminist narratives in their advertisement, they do actually provide inclusivity for disabled women, and they show representation for those disabled women as well. They even modify their products to better help include a better experience for disabled consumers. She also repeatedly wrongly defined the cause of feminism. She kept on saying that feminism promotes the idea that women are being appreciated because they are pretty and enforces that they should beautify themselves for validation. But it does not. Feminism, by definition, is empowering women, promoting
POI.
inclusivity, and POI accepted?
Okay, so that is the definition of feminism, but you have to take in mind that feminism notions and characterizations will change in your world because feminism will be associated with beauty standards. Please elaborate on that.
They are associated to realistic beauty standards. They promote inclusivity, and they don't promote the idea that women are being appreciated solely because they're pretty. They are saying women are loved regardless of their looks, that they are beautiful in their own way. Let me move on with my speech as I only have 1 minute left. Sorry, where was I? That women should love themselves and not sexualize themselves or beautify themselves to receive validation. Now, on to summarizing my own team's point, this house supports the inclusion of feminist narratives in advertisement of fashion and beauty products because it promotes representation for women. Women have always been portrayed in the light of harmful stereotypes and objectifications and damaging some women's self-esteem. With feminist narratives, it encourages women to express themselves realistically and allow diverse representation from those of different size, style, personal preferences, or as the opposition have said, disabilities. Secondly, this house supports the inclusion of feminist narratives in advertisement of fashion and beauty products because it raises awareness about feminist issues related to the fashion and beauty industry. My second speaker have given several examples of beauty and fashion companies promoting inclusivity. They use their platform and use the income to advocate for policy changes and empowerment programs. The opposition team have emphasized that these companies are only using women to gain income. While that is not true, and we do not that is not true, but we do not deny that they do gain income from the sales. But we are saying they actually use these money to further help feminist movements. Our third argument is that because it promotes sustainability and ethical beauty. My speaker have provided how brands that support feminism have been surveyed to have inclusive and environmentally safe production processes. That will be the end of my speech. Thank you.
That concludes government substantives. Now inviting opposition whip to conclude their case. Here.
Hi, can I confirm that I am visible and audible?
Yes, you are visible and audible.
Okay, my POI preference is through chat. Give me a couple of seconds to set up my timer and structure my speech and all that. Thank you.
Is Miss Vanessa?
Okay. Okay, I'm gonna begin my speech in 3, 2, 1. Women, they have minds and they have souls, as well as just hearts. And they've got ambition and they've got talent as well as just beauty. This is a quote I took from Little Women 2019, which is a movie that reflected the reality of women who lived in the 1800s. So tell me, why are we still having debates over this same issue in the year of our Lord 2023? Why are we still hinging the empowerment and the worth of women based on how beautiful they are? So 2 questions. Which side in this debate empowers women more? And which side fights against capitalism more? I'm going to address the first one. Which side empowers women more? Government argues that the inclusion of feminist narrative has created more representation for women. Here's the thing, right? Both sides, we all want to encourage women to be able to express themselves however they want. But the inclusion of feminism in fashion and beauty products, that actually promotes the direct opposite. It implies that your self-expression has to be through these fashion and beauty products. That in and of itself leaves out people who do not have that desire to engage in fashion and beauty. Even when it has created more diverse representation of of women in media, even if it has started including more Black women, more disabled women, more fat women as well, it still reinforces certain beauty standards. For example, Victoria's Secret and all those other fashion brands that hire fat models, especially the online ones like Shein and whatnot, those fat models still only ever have hourglass figures. So even when it has created more diverse representation, it still ends up enforcing the conventional beauty standards. Furthermore, government wants to argue that we should advocate for body positivity. But here's the thing, on opposition, we disagree with that. We want to advocate for body neutrality. We want women to have self-worth completely absolved from their physical appearance. My worth isn't based on how pretty I am. I don't know how to wear makeup. I don't know how to style my hair. I don't care enough to learn. I don't love the stretch marks on my body. I don't love that I have broad shoulders. I don't think I'm not that gorgeous, but that does not mean I am not empowered. My problems go beyond whether or not I feel like I am a beautiful person. Thinking that I am beautiful isn't going to change the fact that people like myself are systemically oppressed. You want to empower women. This is not the way. Another thing about this representation of women, a rebuttal. Fenty Beauty providing a wide range of foundation, that's great, but they are the exception, not the rule. And it is not widely accessible because it is very expensive. Women shouldn't be encouraged to give into capitalism and spend money on something that they didn't need for the sake of empowerment. If they wanted to, great, good for them, but it shouldn't be an expectation for women. And because Fenty Beauty and such beauty products, they are often very expensive, and that means it's not accessible, meaning that it leaves out women who don't have the financial means to buy makeup. So overall, which side empowers women more? It's definitely us, because we advocate for women to be empowered regardless of their beauty. We include women who live outside of those conventional societal expectation that women have to be beautiful, and they can only be beautiful in a very specific way. Furthermore, we help the feminism movement be taken more seriously, because then people won't associate the feminism movement as only whether or not a woman is pretty or not. We cannot empower women by trying to give into societal standards. We can't even argue for those standards to broaden, to include more people, because the fact that those standards exist in the first place is already harmful. We need to remove those standards entirely. Second point, which side fights against capitalism more? Government side has argued that the inclusion of feminism in beauty products somehow has created more sustainability and eco-friendliness. But not only is that not really the point of the debate, no matter how sustainable and eco-friendly a beauty product is, the fact that beauty products are being pushed as a means of women's empowerment is already bad in and of itself. Sustainable and eco-friendly beauty products, they are expensive because, again, they're expensive. Again, they are not the most accessible to the average person who needs to be fiscally intelligent to keep their food on the table. How dare you say that beauty products are inclusive of all women and then tell women to get sustainable and eco-friendly beauty products when that inadvertently excludes so many women who cannot afford that or simply don't want to? Of course, we want to encourage sustainability and eco-friendliness. We want our planet to keep going on for many, many centuries from now. But that is not what the main point of this debate today. And even so, this point of sustainability of beauty products, it puts even more pressure into women to give into capitalism. It pressures them to not only buy beauty products, but also to buy expensive beauty products for the sake of sustainability, even though there is no ethical consumption under capitalism. Which side fights against capitalism more? It's obviously going to be us, because we don't pressure women into conforming into societal beauty standards. We don't pressure women into spending money to buy beauty products just to feel empowered. We don't hinge a woman's worth on her beauty, i.e. her ability to be commercialized and be objectified and exploited by the patriarchal society. So obviously I've proven to you why government's case simply does not stand at all, because women our empowerment does not hinge on our beauty. It hinges on the fact that we exist at all. But the fact that we don't have empowerment, we don't have rights, means that is something we need to fight for. And that is what the feminism movement advocates for. But when you include the feminism movement into fashion and beauty products, it makes it seem as if our the whole point of feminism is to just make people feel pretty, when that's not the main problem at point. The problem is that we are not treated equally. We do not have equal ground. We are not on equal standing as men. And if we want to fight against that, it's not through this. It's not through including feminism narratives in advertisements of fashion and beauty products. It's so if we want to empower women, this is not the way. This is a total problem and solution mismatch. So I'm just going to conclude my speech by saying that please, by all means, oppose this motion, because I and all other women like myself, we deserve the same rights as Saoirse Ronan and Margot Robbie, even if we don't necessarily feel like we are as attractive as they are, nor do I personally care. Thank you.
Thank you, Opposition Whip, for that fine speech. Now inviting Opposition reply, here. I think you're muted.
Hello, may I know if I'm visible and audible? Sorry.
Yes, you are audible. Here.
Okay, thank you. Okay. I will be delivering the reply speech for today, and I will start my speech in 3, 2, 1. Panel, take note that today's clash in this debate is that both sides want to, 1, benefit the feminist movement, and 2, empower women of all types. If we prove to you, panel, that we benefit these two clashes even more, we win today's debate. So first of all, what did government say? They say that beauty sectors will have more representation and more gender diversity. We tell you that this is very convenient and simplistic for them to say, because it is an undeniable fact that diversity and representation should be reinforced, but that is just an impact that is implied to happen in their side. They do not give the steps and layers on how their world would reach that goal, which is to characterize how corporations would mechanize this and how the public will react to it. They did not prove and give justifications towards this argument. Therefore, it cannot stand. Second of all, they do not engage in with the fact that corporations work in a greedy way, while we already gave you the characterizations and motivations of corporations, and that they have little to no motivation to cater to the feminist movement, which is to help women of all types, of all body types. They also do not engage with the fact that feminist perspectives will change in their world, and yet they just use the definition of feminism to back up their argument, which is not going to happen because feminist perspectives will change according to social standards. The definition is like stone set in, but the perspectives are always changing, and government has a responsibility to say how that perspective changing can benefit their side, which is not happening in their speeches. Third of all, they keep using examples to dismiss our arguments, using the color blue being associated with masculinity and Paralympic clothes are all very short-lived examples, because they do not consider the fact that these will be performative activism and that these are only policies done to attract users, but not permanent policies done in the corporations themselves. These examples may back up their arguments, but panel, please take note that it is too convenient for them to use examples to take down our argument. Fourth of all, their eco-friendliness argument isn't mechanized enough. They just use the definition that feminism is associated with environmental sustainability and think that's going to convince our side. Panel, please take note that this type of argument is incredibly narrow and too simplistic for them to say without any characterizations and, again, layers backing up this argument. So what did we bring to the table today? We have given you a more sustainable and progressive way for feminism to advance in society. We have given you the limitations of what will happen if corporations will actually take the wheel in feminism, and corporations in the beauty sectors will help harm these feminism movements because they simply do not have the incentive to help feminists. We also given you a comparison that even though we take the harm that beauty sectors won't be as diverse as won't have the incentive to be more diverse, but we also given you the argument that the attention to other feminist movements, which is to empower women in the intelligence sector, in being strong, we given you the comparisons that if women in our world can be empowered in all types other than just beauty, we can take today's case. While in their world, they failed to give a comparison and failed to give any characterizations to help support their case. We tell you that women in our world will become even more empowered, not just in beauty, but also in other values. We also given you the layers and arguments as to how we achieve this goal. We have won in this clash, and we will take today's debate. Please side with side opposition. Thank you.
Thank you, Up reply. Now inviting Gov reply. Here.
Am I audible and visible?
Yes, you're audible and visible.
Thank you. I'll now start my speech. Greetings to the dear adjudicators and fellow opponents. It is time to summarize today's debate and introduce some main clashes that went on during this debate. The main and most important clash in today's debate is the opposition side has tried to explain why the inclusion of feminist narratives in advertisement of fashion and beauty products doesn't empower women and lack of inclusivity for disabled women. But their claims has been responded and rebutted by the third speaker for our house, giving numerous examples of how this is not true at all. Their arguments are filled with assumptions and hasty generalizations that do not support their claims. This house supports the inclusion of feminist narratives in advertisement of fashion and beauty products because it is a representation for women, it raises awareness about feminist issues related to the fashion and beauty industry, and it helps promote sustainability and ethical beauty. Meanwhile, the opposition team does not support the inclusion of feminist narratives in advertisement of fashion and beauty products because women shouldn't be hinged by beauty, and they advocate how women should be appreciated without makeup and beauty standards. Please, we're not forcing a woman to buy beauty or fashion products. Yes, these advertisements are promoting feminism narrative, but it never says that you have to buy or own them in order to feel confident. It is ultimately a personal choice, and that the corporations never said that self-natural beauty can only be available after you buy their products. Also, the opposition team said that Fenty beauty products are so expensive that a minority of women can afford their products, making it so they don't receive the inclusivity that they provide. But Fenty Beauty that Rihanna created, a collection of quality products at a reasonable cost, nearly everything from the brand is under $50, and this is from their official store. Think about online markets that further give discounts reselling Fenty beauty products. How can they say that only a minority can afford Fenty beauty products? So in this debate, we gather here to discuss a motion that is close to my heart, a motion that speaks to the very essence of who we are as individuals and as a society, the inclusion of feminist narratives in fashion and beauty advertisements. This is a motion that calls for not just a transformation of industries, but a revolution of thought and action. For far too long, the world of fashion and beauty has been tainted by harmful stereotypes and unrealistic beauty standards. Yes, we admit it. It has perpetuated the notion that a woman's worth lies solely in her appearance, reducing us to mere objects of desire rather than empowered individuals capable of greatness. But today, the society demands for a change. We demand for a change. It starts from changing people's way of thinking through what affects us most, the advertisement from this industry. Therefore, this house strongly supports the inclusion of feminist narratives in advertisement of fashion and beauty products because it is a representation for women, raises awareness about feminist issues, and it helps promote sustainability and ethical beauty. Start supporting feminism by siding with our house. Thank you.
Thank you, Upward, for that fine speech. That concludes round 5 of the tournament. That being said, it is a silent round, so there won't be any OA. So I invite both teams to cross the floor and virtually shake hands. Good job, everyone.